Hello everyone and everything, I have an observation I wish to share with you. In the past few years, there's been an interesting mechanic gaining popularity in indie games, that being the cryptic language. Though games have been creating their own languages forever. Ni no Kuni's Nazcaean, The Wind Waker's Hylian, heck, a lot of older games had plenty of Japanglish translation mistakes that I would count as puzzles. It's no mystery as to why solving this puzzle is so engaging. It basically boils down puzzle design to one of its fundamental elements, that process of understanding the way a game communicates. But today's subject, Super Mario Sunshine, is interesting. Because despite its profile, despite 20 plus years of data mining, boundary breaking, and fan hacking, I've never seen this swirly-whirly language referred to as anything but random symbols.
And was replaced with generic symbols in other versions of the game.
Today, let's change that. For the sake of brevity, I'm going to call this language Dolphic for the rest of the video. And here's what you need to know about it. 1. It shows up rarely in the game, only appearing in a series like this in 3 of this game's levels. 2. It also shows up on these wooden signs throughout the game, but not in the Japanese version. I suspect this is the reason Dolphic has been outright dismissed all these years, because in Japanese, it reads a random sentence from a dictionary in English. So if we were to proceed on the assumption that this somehow translates to this, we just don't have enough information to understand how. 3. Mario Sunshine environments also contain a lot of both English and Italian text, as well as Dolphic. Another possible reason people assume Dolphic to be gibberish. But this is also important because it means that Dolphic may translate to words in either language. With all that, let's begin with Pinna Park. This level has 2 Dolphic words in it. One over the entrance to the park itself, one over the entrance to the pirate ship ride. The pirate ship one is how I first discovered this could be done. While straining my eyes to try and read some of the game's brochure pages, I noticed that you could kind of make out some of these attraction names on this map. While it's not exactly crystal clear, the one pointed at the pirate ship ride seems to say Viking. You know, one of those out-of-the-box rides that tend to pop up at fairs and amusement parks with farm or garden in the name. Well, take a look at the sign. Not only does it have the same number of letters as Viking, but the 2 eyes seem to match up with this recurring symbol. If this does, in fact, say Viking, that's great news for a couple reasons. For one, of course, that means we now know 5 letters, but even better, it means that this is just a cipher. No special rules or diction to worry about. When we get a letter, we know that letter. Now we can take that knowledge to the entry sign and see if we can get any more. Alas, it doesn't seem like we have any overlapping letters from Viking here, and on top of that, there's no obvious word this might be going off of context. Pinna and Enter both have recurring letters, which this word does not, so we'll have to check back in on this one later. Next stop is Gelato Beach for another red herring. The NPCs and signs around here actually call this place the Sand Cabana, so if you come up here and see the sign, and it has the right number of letters for cabana, but then 3 of these letters, which would have to be A's, are all different. But if we compare with the letters we already know, we see this word actually starts with G. From this, it takes a little guesswork, but with one significant context clue, we can reasonably assume this word is gelato. That leaves this 3-letter word up here, which seems to share the letter A with this one. At this point, if we operate on the assumption we've been correct so far, you may have noticed that a lot of Dolphic letters look like their romantic counterparts. With that in mind, I suspected this symbol might be a B, and after a brief minute of genuinely suspecting the sign might say bad gelato, I think we can make another reasonable assumption, and say that this says bar gelato, or perhaps gelato bar. God, that sounds so nice. That's all for the beach. Let's check in on what we've already tried. The park entrance. Now, I'm not as sure about bar as I am gelato, but even with just that, we can match up A and O. If we do assume we have bar right, we also have R. Now, I did some sneaky googling for this one, but unless this says narco, I think we may have gotten something wrong. But I have one more idea. What's the Italian word for park? Parco. And frankly, that fits so well, I'd be shocked if it were anything else. So that locks in P, R, and C, and I'm pretty sure that means bar was accurate too. So we have over half the alphabet now. If we take another look at the wooden sign though, it doesn't seem to help. We can match up a couple letters here. R, T, possibly B, definitely B, O, V, T again, R again, but that essentially confirms that there's no way this actually spells anything. TVR, that's television rating? Tequila Vodka Red Bull? If this is an Easter egg, it's one that I think only the people who put it here will understand. It does give us at least one more unknown letter to look out for though. The second letter is extremely compressed, but I think it's basically an upside down T. And this 4th letter, while possibly a B, is really distinct from what we understand a B to B. So we'll have to move on and hope Noki Bay will be more fruitful. Noki Bay is way more fruitful. The brochure has 4 symbols on it, which actually spell Noki. This place is covered in Dolphic symbols, but most of them are standalone, and the letters don't seem to be related to the function of the ruins at all. We can possibly maybe maybe assume that the sun symbol is a letter we haven't seen yet, but it's impossible to know which one. In fact, arguably, assumptions are all we have. A whole load of conjecture and context clues that might seem to add up, but 5 words from 2 different languages might not be as definitive as all that. Until I took a look at this long string of symbols that's all over the place. It's small and horribly compressed, but if we hand walk our way over, if we just make our way over, I said, if we just, oh, for crying out loud. Make our way to the far left end of this texture without falling victim to the most rushed world in Sunshine, which is saying something, and check out these first 3 symbols. We know these. It's A, B, and C. We don't know D, but we can compare the next letter to E, and so on down the line. We found the alphabet. And this is where all the pieces fall into place. Now, it got JPEG'd pretty hard, and some letters are completely illegible, but we can get most of them. D appears to be a backwards B, of course. F kinda just looks like an F, but maybe with an extra swirl on top. H looks like an N, but without the extra tail. J looks a lot more like an O for some reason. Maybe it's like a backwards O. M, we'll get back to that one. Q would appear to be a backwards P. S is hard. It looks like just 2 horizontal lines. I have to guess here, but I'm thinking it's probably like 2 sideways I's. U, again, hard to tell, but I'm thinking it's a good fit for that 4th sign letter. W and X, curiously, look almost identical, but I believe X is basically an upside down V, while W is basically an inverted X. With that in mind, I'd bet real money that M is just an upside down W. Y has a lot to figure out in its life. It's kinda looking like an R, but with another extra squiggle, and by process of elimination, I think that leaves Z as our second mystery sign letter. This kinda upside down T shape. So, with the whole alphabet under our belt, I can say with reasonable confidence the sign says RZTUBODTVR. I've tried it backwards, top to bottom, plugging it into a word unscrambler. Unfortunately, nothing. So in a way, the internet was right. This sign is just gibberish, but it being gibberish stopped them all from digging deeper. Now, I hate to end things on that note, so let's get one more win. There's one more set of Dolphic letters in this level, on these flags way up here. Now, this one's a little tough because all the letters run together, and the flag won't stop moving, but this first one's definitely an M. And at first I thought maybe it says Mario, but this can't be both an R and an I. And then it clicked. In the Japanese version of the game, Noki are not called Noki, they're called Mare. That fits. Then we have a V-I-L-L, and unless I'm mistaken, A-G-E. This spells out Mare Village. That's absolutely adorable. I guess if you think about it, this would seem to be the language of the Noki specifically, and I like that its imagery is similar to waves and fish to reflect their oceanic lifestyle. But more than anything, I'm just shocked at how well kept a secret this is. Well, you almost got away with it, Nintendo, but I translated it. Never underestimate me again. As one final note, just to be thorough, I decided to check the Japanese version of the brochure page because they do get localized. And indeed, this one says Mare instead of Noki. Even better, you can find the same logo and letters on the small water bottles sometimes dropped by enemies. Good stuff. This may not have opened unprecedented levels of Mario Sunshine secrets, but I think it's taught me an important lesson. If you're willing to put in the work, there's always more to be discovered, always more secrets to be found. Never assume you're too late to the party. A fresh pair of eyes on an old puzzle works wonders. Thanks for coming along with me on this weird archaeological hunt. If you're not familiar with what I do, I make a series called Game Breakdown, where I go exhaustively from level to level, pointing out every detail I find cool, interesting, or funny. It was while doing a breakdown of Mario Sunshine I happened upon this mystery box, and I figured it deserved its own video. But you can check out the rest over here. And finally, in addition to my incredible patrons, I want to give an extra heartfelt thanks to my sister. She's a natural-born linguist, and she helped me make a number of connections, without which I'd still be stumped thinking this was supposed to say cabana. But that's all from me today. I'll see you in the next one.